Dexter Fowler has been traded to the LA Angels, so let's get into what it means on the state of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast on the Laracuente Ledger Network. And as I said in the open, today we're going to be discussing the state of the 2021 Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So, let's get into it. But before we do, make sure you head over to LaracuenteLedger.com as we have a corresponding article on this very topic about the state of the LA Angels. And as always, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as you subscribing does a huge service for us here at the channel. It allows us to continue bringing you this content each and every week. And if you hit that bell to stay alerted, it will let you know every time we drop new content. So let's get into it. Now let's begin with the most recent deal for the Los Angeles Angels, and it's the trade acquisition of Dexter Fowler. Now, Fowler himself is likely going to really help lengthen this lineup because he is a switch hitter. And he's also going to help elevate the defense because he is a pretty good defender in right field. What that means for the current alignment in the outfield, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. We know that right now, as the outfield would assemble for the LA Angels, it would be Justin Upton, Mike Trout, and Jo Adell. And while Jo Adell wouldn't have necessarily hit the way that the Angels would have liked in 2020, there's no doubt about it, this player, this prospect is going to materialize into a very good ball player. And having Dexter Fowler there can kind of help ease him into the more predominant role that you expect from a guy like Jo Adell. So having Dexter Fowler there really truly helps the Angels outfield as a whole, as well as the young phenom prospect that they have brought up in Jo Adell. That would not be the only move that the Angels would have done this past week. Recently, the Angels would acquire Alex Cobb from the Baltimore Orioles. Now, heading back to Baltimore was Jahmani Jones, who was once a highly touted prospect within the Angels organization. And while Jones would kind of lose favor over the last couple of seasons, it's still kind of intriguing that he would be the player going back. Now, obviously, you have to give up value to get value, and Alex Cobb is going to be a valuable asset for the Angels. Now, I will get into this more in a moment when we discuss the state of the rotation, but I think that Alex Cobb is going to be a very good fit in the middle of that rotation for the Los Angeles Angels. But Cobb would not be the only pitcher brought in by the Angels this offseason, as they would sign Jose Quintana. Now, we would cover the Quintana signing on a separate video here on the Laracuente Ledger and on the Baseball Banter Broadcast, so I will leave links to that down in the show notes below, as well as up in the YouTube card. But when you look at what Quintana can do, this is a guy who can find himself at the front end of this rotation for the Angels. And the fact that it is only a 1-year, $8 million deal to me is an absolute steal for a pitcher of this quality. The biggest question will be health in and around the Angels, and specifically their starting rotation, but we'll get to that more in a moment. We would also see the signing of a catcher in Kurt Suzuki for the LA Angels. Now, the Kurt Suzuki signing itself was discussed on the relaunch episode of the Laracuente Ledger podcast, so I will leave links to that down in the description below. But when you look at what Suzuki provides, this is a better than average catcher in terms of his offensive ability. Now, defensively, he's going to be a bit of a hindrance and not give you quite the defense that you could get from some other catchers. But offensively, this is going to be a guy that's going to be able to help the Angels push forward and push towards heading back to the postseason. The Angels would also trade for another former Baltimore Oriole, and that is Jose Iglesias. Now, the Angels were expected to lose Andrelton Simmons, as we know that he would end up going to the Minnesota Twins. But prior to that, the Angels would trade for Jose Iglesias. Now, Iglesias doesn't bring the same glove that Andrelton does, but he's still going to provide the Angels with solid defense at the shortstop position. And it would only cost the Angels a couple of right-handed pitching prospects. So let's jump into the state of the Angels rotation. When you look at this rotation, it obviously is headlined by Shohei Ohtani, the two-way star from Japan. Now, because of having Shohei in the rotation, there's definitely going to be at minimum a 6-man rotation. Now, I'm going to go out and make a bold prediction here that the Angels will possibly even use a 7-man rotation for this upcoming season. We know that with the shortened campaign, a lot of starters were not stretched out as they usually are. And when you're trying to protect an asset like Shohei Ohtani, this is something that very easily could happen. We know that in Japan, they pitch once a week. This is something that the Angels will likely try to adopt going into the 2021 campaign to help further protect Shohei Ohtani and their investment in him. When you look at the way that the Angels have kind of built up this team by bringing in a guy like Alex Cobb, by bringing in Jose Quintana, while adding them to the players that they've already have in that rotation, Dylan Bundy that they acquired from Baltimore last year, Griffin Cannon, Andrew Heaney, amongst others, that they're going to have a plethora of opportunities and a plethora of starters for that rotation. I genuinely believe that there will be at minimum a 6-man rotation for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, but could likely see 7 at certain points in the year, where guys get 1 start a week. Now, will this help this team? Very possibly, because the biggest question mark for the starting rotation of the LA Angels is health. All of these guys have pretty much been injury concerns throughout their career. Limiting these guys to 1 day a week could very much help them kind of protect themselves in terms of their throwing arm and their throwing programs. This could allow them to get kind of more side work to stay fresh, but not overexert themselves in game situations that could hurt themselves. This is something that I don't think will be seen throughout Major League Baseball, but I think could be a possibility here with the LA Angels. We know that Joe Maddon likes to do kind of strange things at times, and the front office itself is very much analytically driven. So I think that this could be an opportunity to test out some new things in 2021. And I do believe, again, that the Angels will likely go with at minimum a 6-man rotation, but as many as 7. Now, when we head to the state of the bullpen of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, there's a few names that stick out. Alex Claudio, Raisel Iglesias are 2 of the big names in this bullpen. But there are also other guys in this pen that have opportunity and can make significant impacts to this team going forward. Now, I do believe that there is still kind of a hole that could be filled by adding another arm from the free agent pool for this team that will help them in the long run push towards heading back to the postseason. We know that the Angels are at present moment the 3rd best team in the division, but we have seen the Astros take a hit by losing Springer. We've seen the A's take a hit by losing Marcus Semien. But in the Angels, you're looking at a team that has been adding pieces and adding pieces of significance. So this could very easily push them back up towards the top of this division. I think that there will be a 3-way battle in this division, and the Rangers will be right there playing spoilers. The Mariners, not so much. But when you look at what the Angels could do to help bolster their team, to help boost them forward, pushing towards the postseason, adding to that bullpen could very easily make a difference. Now, as we head into the state of the defense for the LA Angels, they have weakened this, in my opinion, in certain aspects. I do think that by bringing in Dexter Fowler, they have elevated their defensive side on their outfield, but by losing Andrelton Simmons, they've weakened their infield defense. Now, Iglesias is not going to be a poor defender at all at shortstop, but he's not going to be quite the same defender that Andrelton Simmons was. You're also looking at a questionable outfield in terms of defensive metrics between Justin Upton and Mike Trout. Now, Upton is not going to be a good defender. I do think that Trout is capable enough of handling the position of center field, but we could potentially see Mike Trout head towards a corner spot as he continues to age, making way for Joe Adell in center field. Now, the question will be is that how early do we see that happen and we see Mike Trout maybe shift to left field while leaving Joe Adell in center? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comment section below. Do you think the Angels are a better team with Mike Trout playing defense in left field as opposed to center? Now let's jump into the state of the offense for the LA Angels. This is where it is a significant portion of what they can do going into 2021. Obviously, they have the best player on the planet in Mike Trout, but you also have guys who are a bit more questionable in terms of Justin Upton, who is a very, very streaky player who can go on and carry the team for a week at a time or be completely lost and falling off the radar like Pluto that is no longer a planet. You also have, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball and one of the least hyped players in Anthony Rendon. But this man is a picture model of consistency each and every single year. So there are questions for the offense of this team as well as for the defense and the bullpen. I do think that the rotation, even though there are questions about the health, is going to be the strength of this team. The starting rotation of having the plethora of starters that they have at their disposal, to me, is going to be a key aspect for the LA Angels. Now, let me give you my final thoughts on the Angels and the division itself in terms of where they stand. When it comes to the Angels at present moment, I think that they are trying to compete with the Astros and the A's for that top spot. I do think that there is a battle between these three teams. But when it comes to the Angels, there's a lot of question marks, in my opinion, that have to be asked and we don't necessarily have the answers to at this moment. One of those questions is what can we reasonably expect from Albert Pujols as we continue on in his career? When is it that Mike Trout hits the wall and begins heading down that downward slope that we see all players hit for their career? Have the injuries piled up to the point where it's starting to happen now? Is it possible that the Angels could use a 6 or possibly 7-man rotation in 2021 and beyond? Now, these are all legitimate questions that can be asked and we don't necessarily have the answers to until we start seeing games played. But the one question that genuinely stands out to me the most is, have the Angels done enough now with these moves that they've made to surpass the A's and the Astros at the top of that division? Now, that's something that we have to kind of focus more on and let play out as the season comes closer. As I said, I do believe that the Angels will employ a different style rotation than what we've seen throughout the major leagues to this point. But I also think that it's going to help them in that regard. The Astros are going to be without Justin Verlander, and you never really know what you're getting from the A's. So this is going to be a very interesting division to watch, as it is a three-headed monster that will be battling it out. So if you're an Angels fan, there's things to like about this team, but also things to dislike and to question about this team. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on the LA Angels of Anaheim? What moves have they made that have stood out to you the most? What are the weaknesses that you see that I haven't discussed? Let me know that down in the comment section below. And as I said earlier, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay notified of every time we drop new content here, so that you don't miss out on the next opportunity when we bring you another video here from the Laracuente Legend Network. As always, if you like the video, make sure you hit that like button down below, as it does a huge service for us here at the Laracuente Legend Network. If you haven't joined us yet on Patreon, make sure you head over to patreon.com, search for the Laracuente Legend Network, and join us there, as your support is what allows us to continue bringing you this content each and every week. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to hang out with me here as we discuss the state of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. But I will catch you guys next time. The latest news, notes, or my personal thought, theories, and opinions have to be dropped about the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.